Previously on
What's on your shelf?
Now I'm becoming a speaker. Increasingly, I've been invited to events to speak about performance, about masculinity, about, basically life coaching.
Yeah.
In general, when men are married, they become isolated. They stop hanging out with their friends because most of the time their wife discourages them. We did not have phones, we didn't have television. So the only thing that could entertain us was books. A man must create a purpose for himself. He must make himself valuable. And that's why we normally say sperms are cheap, eggs are expensive. So we have all those things happening, but outside the Bible, the contemporary literature is completely silent about a man who fed 5,000 people on 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, a man who healed the sick, a man who walked on water, who converted water into wine in a wedding in Canaan.
Jacob, you're also so much into philosophy and science. How does that influence your writing?
The thing I like about science, which I discovered later in life, is that the way scientists take things very seriously, and the way even people in academia take things very, very seriously. The lay person normally thinks that the things that they think about probably no one has thought about. Most of the things that you'll question yourself about, someone has already questioned themselves about that same thing on a very serious level and interrogated it very, very seriously. I like the clarity that science demands. For you, for example, to present a scientific theory, it must be verifiable, it must be falsifiable, and it probably must be repeatable if it's an experiment before it can be accepted. So the way the scientific method is structured, I think it's one of the most reliable ways of arriving at knowledge. And knowledge here being justified through belief. So you form your beliefs through a scientific method. And science is a method. That's something also people normally forget. They think science is a belief. Science is just a method of testing things. It's about testing. It's about verification. It's about falsification. And many people also don't know that science, in philosophy of science, and I have Thomas Kuhn's book here, we came from alchemy to logical positivism, and then before we came to the modern scientific method, science has gone through stages. From the time people used to talk about biogenesis and so on, up to the Big Bang and so on, it has taken time and refined. The thing about science is it is self-correcting. So, for example, like the other time they demoted Pluto from a planet. When science makes mistakes, at one time they thought the atom is the smallest particle, and they said it is the smallest particle. When they discover that they're subatomic particles, science updated. Science is not dogmatic. That's the difference between science and religion. Science will always admit, if it's wrong, it says this is wrong, we upgrade the knowledge. So it is always learning and improving. And the other thing you'll find about science is, in all cases where science has found religion to be incorrect, like for example, people used to believe that mental illness is caused by demonic possession. So many times science answers questions that religion tried to answer, but not in the best way, and it keeps improving like that.
Yeah.
So in many cases, and you see, like the plate tectonic theory, for example, the guy who came up with the plate tectonic theory, scientists rejected it; they refused. But as they presented more and more evidence, finally they had to accept. So science is like that. It is not dogmatic, but it is very, very rigorous.
Yeah.
So the thing about me when I'm looking at science and religion, I look at science particularly as intellectual and religion as psychological, sociological, because people are really invested in terms of emotionally. Religion also brings people together in terms of, like someone has died. It gives people a way of coping with the death, emotional closure, giving you comfort and things like that, which science does not do. So it also has its aspects that are useful for us as human beings. Yeah.
But then now, when you're looking at that, is there a convergence of some sort where now science and religion meet? Is there a place like that?
I've not seen. I know people try to reconcile the two, and most of the efforts are there just tortured. It doesn't because you see, science is about empirical evidence. Science is about questioning. Science is about testing. It's about discovery. Religion does not want that. Religion has all the answers. Science does not have answers. Science is busy. Scientists are busy conducting experiments. They are spending a lot of money on scientific research. People in religion are not conducting any research. For them, everything is answered. God knows, God has done it. We're just waiting for the second coming, and we go and join God in heaven. Scientists are busy trying to find the cure of cancer. How do we treat this? They are trying to find what caused the Big Bang. They have so many questions. Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that in hindsight and you're looking at the metaphysical naturalism, how do you then look at reality? What is reality?
Okay. Reality, of course, we just describe reality as a total sum of all that exists. Or that's the universe. What is real is what is verifiable. So reality is a total sum of what can be verified. And when it comes to science, you cannot rely on your senses because our senses mislead us. And that's one of the reasons why all these stories from the village, I don't believe them. You see, when you're walking on a road, on a tarmac road, you can see water at a distance, the mirage. For your eyes, that is water. It looks like water. It's a pool of water. But it is not water. So our senses lie to us. And that's why science has come up with measuring instruments. We have spectrometers and so on and so forth. So, and I think in answering this, I'm answering your earlier question about the convergence of science. You know, most scientists, what they do, when they enter a lab or a classroom, they leave the religion at the door because they know those two don't work together. And so the worldview that scientists hold is called metaphysical naturalism. Metaphysical naturalism means at a metaphysical level, all things that we see have natural causes. So it's naturalistic from a metaphysical level. And metaphysical naturalism also means, in a sense, that now for people, the scientists who believe in God, a number of them say that God created the world, then he walked away. So they don't believe God interferes with the universe. So in other words, they still embrace metaphysical naturalism, even though they know there is a creator out there. Yeah, so they believe the creator exists, but it does not interfere with nature. Everything that is in nature, they believe it's like the world is a closed system and God is outside it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we add into it a new dimension, AI. What's your thought on that?
AI is interesting, but I don't think we'll meet what is called the singularity. I don't think that we will ever be able to form, develop sentience. We call it sentience in AI, where now these things have consciousness and they are capable of identifying. They are able to have an identity by themselves and separate themselves from the rest. I think it will take a while, particularly before they have they can develop an ego, so to speak.
AI is relatively new. It's a new phenomenon across the globe. And I feel like a lot of us are focusing on pros and cons of AI. But you also have an IT background. What would you tell Africa to do to take its space in the AI conversation?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that Africa, for the most part, will become consumers. And right now, what we will be forced to do as Africa, we have to straddle both worlds in the sense that we have to learn to be both prompt generators, because now it's about generative AI. You prompt it and it develops images, code, and so on. We must learn both of that, but we also must learn how this AI was created by others. Otherwise, we will just become consumers and we'll be controlled. The same way now it's happening with the seeds. I don't know if you know the controversy we have around seeds, where they're telling us we stop using our own seeds and it will become a criminal offense to plant your seeds that are not certified. But they have a seed vault in Europe where they're taking our seeds and keeping them there. If we do that and then we start relying on GMOs, very soon they'll be able to control what we plant and what we eat. The same thing, the same way, if as in AI we just, as Africa, become prompt generators, then it's not going to serve us in the long term. We'll be controlled. So we must learn to create our own AI. Yeah.
It's interesting you've mentioned something about food. It has sparked a thought in my head. And just picking it from where you've left it on. Do you think we underestimate how much a weapon food is?
Yeah, we do. We do, but also we are not very good with short-term thinking. I mean, long-term thinking and thinking in terms of geopolitics and just hegemony, power play. We don't understand power. It puts us as a big disadvantage as Africans. And then, of course, our leaders are selfish and they think of how they benefit in the short term. They can actually trade with us. They sell us to the highest bidder. So that is the unfortunate thing about our situation. So we underestimate the importance of food. And I think that is why people have said that we're training so many kids on so many things, engineering and so on, but on agriculture, we are not training enough.
Yeah. When you're thinking about food security, you're into. I like your diverse worlds of thought. What does Africa need to do to achieve food security?
I think it's simple. You just need to prioritize agriculture, which you are not doing.
We have been prioritizing agriculture, Jacob. Agriculture has been the key thing Kenya talks about.
No. Let me tell you why. You saw the fake fertilizer. We are selling soil to the farmers as fertilizer.
Yeah.
In the US, when you talk about prioritizing agriculture, the government has serious subsidies for agricultural farmers, agricultural machinery, agricultural fertilizer. That we don't have here in Kenya. We don't even have those huge tracts of land where the government is actually incentivizing people to farm
Galana
on large
Kulan.
scale. Yeah, because us, even those ones, they are mismanaged through corruption. We are busy looking for creating crises locally so that we can import maize from Zambia, from Brazil, and so on. Because when we're importing, that's where we make money. Corruption is just corruption. Corruption is what's stopping us from prioritizing agriculture.
Yeah.
But if we did, that's what's happening in the US. The government gives subsidies. Try to import a tractor now or the fertilizers and so on. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. That is what we need to do. And then recognizing and making farming sexy. We don't make farming very sexy. It's like something that only poor people are doing.
Or
And
a
then,
failure. The ones who
people who have
did not-
failed, who have
yes.
not managed to succeed in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I think is what we need to do. But the problem is, if we do that, as I've mentioned, the politicians know that they will not be able to import sugar and maize from Brazil. So they want agriculture to be still poor so that we have the sugar barons still in place to make money. So the unfortunate thing is our leaders are benefiting from that problem. And that's why they're perpetuating it.
Jacob, to that farmer who is watching you today, to that young man who is in the village, to that Kenyan who is listening to you today, I don't want to sound like I'm turning a blind eye to the government, but to this person's individual level, how does this person look at it? How do we look at it? From an individual level. From me, my small-scale farmer, but the person who is planting just kuma for myself and a few people in this neighborhood. How do I approach agriculture?
I think people should approach agriculture knowing that it is one of the quickest ways of earning a livelihood and prosperity also. Because you see what happens, you have to remember the concept behind agriculture is you put a seed down in the ground and it multiplies. Even in business, that does not happen. You buy and sell at a profit. In agriculture, you put one seed, you harvest many. So fundamentally, it is actually something that is designed to multiply and increase your fortunes as a human being. So I encourage guys. Even recently, I was in the village. I saw so many guys who are doing well from agriculture. So as much as the government is there messing up with the fertilizer and the Kenya Seed Corporation and so on, at a lower level, agriculture is still very beneficial. You can still plant tomatoes, sell them in the local market. You can plant onions. People have orchards. You plant, sell mangoes, sell oranges, and so on. So agriculture is still beneficial. It is just that it is not prioritized in the sense that to the level where you get food security. That means you even have, if a harvest fails, you are still safe from the previous harvests. Yeah. So at an individual level, I think agriculture is still very beneficial, and I would encourage everyone to engage in it.
What's your take on GMO?
I don't think we should use the GMO. It makes us lose. It of course it has its dangers just in terms of messing up with the genetic makeup of the crops and of our vegetation, but also in terms of most of these GMOs are foreign owned. It's like getting a copyright or getting something that someone owns a copyright for. At some point, they can start charging you for you to use this. You need to pay this, and they own it. You have to pay it, otherwise you don't use it. So if we lose our natural or traditional seeds and go for GMO, we are going to basically, that's will be the new form of neocolonialism. So I'm not for it. They sell it in terms of food security, but you're also handing over your freedom and your independence.
What is the intersection between now, when you're looking at those, most of them are scientific innovations and inventions that have birthed things like GMO seeds and things like that have capabilities that ideally were not there. For example, drought resistant seeds and things like that. But where do you look at, where is the intersection between science and morality?
I don't think there is. Science doesn't care about morality. Morality is a concern that human beings have. You see, a scientist can help you to create the best gun. Now, you can use this gun to kill your enemies, to kill people who are trying to kill you, to defend yourself. But you can also use these guns for genocide. Same way, you can have a very sharp knife for cutting food, slicing your oranges. You can use that same knife for murder. So the science is going to give you a mechanism for meeting your certain needs. The morality or the intentions behind those needs may or may not be good. But science just concerns itself with what works. Yeah.
What should the general population be concerned about? What should they question?
The first thing to know is most of our leaders, like 99% of them are thieves, and they have no best intentions of the population. That means from governors, MCAs, women reps, up to the top. That's the first thing they must know. So secondly, they need to pay a lot of attention in terms of what is being discussed in parliament, what has been approved, what are the budgets, and then hold them to account in terms of these monies, what did you spend them on, what is the evidence, what is the proof, what is the auditor saying. I think there was a governor that was in prison for 8 years a few days ago. This guy he says he's suffering from preeclampsia. I don't know that you know that story.
No.
You know, preeclampsia is what pregnant women suffer from. But he says he has preeclampsia, so he cannot be jailed. So I think the Gen Z thing has opened up a lot of awareness into what is happening. You know, the way things like bursaries are being mismanaged by MPs and the school funds and so on. So I think Kenyans just need to be vigilant, pay attention, and question all these leaders. And hopefully in the next election, we can elect leaders who are better. And they'll find us better placed to judge them and to evaluate them in terms of the suitability for leadership.
Yeah. How do you look at time?
Time is just a measure of change. And they normally say the arrow of time only moves in one direction. And, for quantum mechanics, they say that there's a space-time. The universe is just looked as space and time. That is what comprises the universe. And the speed of light, it has been said it is constant. It doesn't change. And I think for us as human beings, we are very small and we are here for a very, very short time. The best that we can do with the time that we have, learn the best, enjoy life the way you can, and that will be it. Our life here is very, very short.
Do you think time is an objective reality, or it's just a human perspective with regards to consciousness?
Time is real because, you see, you cannot do anything without time. Because time is a measure of change. You cannot create, for example, without time. So time is part and parcel, and we are all subject to time. For you to observe anything, you must observe it within time. Otherwise, even you cannot be able to observe. So I think time is just woven into the fabric of reality. It is inescapable. From the time the universe began, time was always there, and time will always be there. So long as there is anything that is changing, there is time. Yeah. And you cannot be conscious without time. Yeah.
But when you're looking at now that and you're looking at human evolution, what philosophical questions should we be asking ourselves?
You know, philosophical questions can be very many because philosophy is very broad. It's a very, very broad branch of knowledge because when it comes to, for example, morality, people are still struggling with objective morality. Is morality objective or subjective? Which is the best form of a moral system? You're looking at morality. Even mathematics is a branch of philosophy. They are trying to calculate various different things. We're trying to find out what is our purpose here. We're trying to find out, all these questions about human suffering, our existence on this planet, and we're wondering, is there another life out there? People have always been, there's what is called SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which was started decades ago. We've not found any proof right now of an existence of intelligence life out there. But the questions that have always concerned us will be there. It's just that in fields like mathematics and physics, they have questions that they know have answers, but they don't have the answers. And most of the time, people find the answers are given Nobel Prizes and so on and so forth. But in terms of philosophy, it's just about exploration, argumentation, and trying to reason.
The pretext of my question is because in my head, I'm trying to merge two worlds. We've spoken extensively about religion, but we've also looked at science. When looking at science and we're looking at the evolution of man, we're talking about the the evolution from the Homo erectus to Homo sapien. And then from Homo sapien, there seems to have been a stop in that evolution. And then now we've transitioned into this other scientific world where now we have robots, we have AI, we have the scientific alterations that are being built to do or act better than human beings. And some of it are very good scientific innovations. I was seeing a documentary where someone who was paralyzed, I think there was something that there's a way they've attached his neurological system to devices because his brain is still functional. It's allowing life to go beyond him being paralyzed. There is that aspect when you're looking at. But you're looking at the story of man, from the early man, and that story of evolution to where we got into Homo sapien, which I want to believe that I am still Homo sapien, which has not changed in more than 2,000 years. What are we seeing? Because I'm looking at it philosophically, I'm looking at it scientifically, I'm looking at it morally, I'm looking at it religiously, from a religious perspective. What from Jacob's perspective is that future of evolution?
Evolution will not stop, and it has not stopped. It takes millions of years for a species to evolve, particularly a complex species like human beings. And that is why you see something like a plasmodium, the one that causes malaria. It keeps evolving. That's why at one time we used to use quinine. It is now quinine. It is resisting quinine. We have to come up with other drugs because it is evolving. So it's a bit faster for smaller organisms. For complex organisms, it's slow. And also because of our technological advancement, we have made it even. We have made the fitness landscape even. It means, for example, fat people, for example, who probably will be able to die if there was no medicine to take care of them, they're able to survive. We have people who have sickle cell, or diseases, different diseases. Because of our advancement in medicine, they're able to survive. The fitness landscape is leveled out. So that slows down evolution because the forces for survival for the fittest are being blunted by technological advancement. We have foods, people would otherwise maybe starve. People can be born with congenital defects, but now instead of dying off, we have advanced, we have ways of taking care of them. So that's one. But evolution is about change over time, and over time we have seen that people are going to change. Like right now, from the societal level, I mentioned to you the post-marriage era. One thing that has happened, which is happening right now, a lot of us, and these are things that people in masculinity are talking about. Men are beginning to have a lot of estrogen in us because of eating potatoes and things like chips and so on, and it makes most men effeminate. It is very common now to have man boobs. You know what a man boob is? Men who have almost things like breasts, and which was very difficult a long time ago. Heart disease is killing people more than anything else right now in the world. People are dying from hypertension, stroke, high blood pressure, and things like that. Sugar
And
is
heartbreaks.
okay, heart breaks, yeah, but not that many. Sugar is becoming a major contributor, and then of course lifestyle. In the States, for example, if you feel you feel you're very lazy, you don't want to, you're going to shop. Now they have carts you can just drive in the supermarket as if you're driving, but you're in the supermarket, just moving from shelf to shelf
Yeah.
for the people who are obese. If it was in the past, probably, if the fitness landscape was left, those people probably will be abandoned and they'll have to either starve until they're thin or they starve to death. So we are enabling things that will make survival difficult, and now we are making people able to live with those particular issues. So that is what is happening. And then you see, evolution was just about evidence. Darwin himself believed that we were created by God. But now when he started seeing all this fossil evidence, he had to make sense out of it. And that's how he came up with the theory of evolution. So it's not something that anyone wanted or wished, but it's just the evidence. You cannot walk away from it. Yeah.
Wow. Jacob, what drives you?
What drives me is the quest for knowledge. I really love knowledge. I love the power that comes from understanding. When you understand something, it banishes fear and it gives you a lot of confidence in terms of how you are navigating life. You're able to make better decisions, and it becomes difficult for you to be exploited by someone maybe who wants to prey on your fears or on your ignorance. And my passion is to spread this knowledge and to create like a generation of Renaissance Kenyans or Africans, people who love reading, people who embrace intellectualism, people who are thirsting for knowledge, because the political class is trying to create a generation of hustlers, people who want to just chase money. I'd like us to have a generation of people who are thinking, who are able to generate knowledge and to invent things. All those things, the more you know, the more you can imagine. And that's how the West normally beats us. That's why we are consumers, because we know so little. We don't spend a lot of time understanding and reading. Those guys read a lot and they're exposed to a lot of knowledge. And that's why they're able to create and invent. Every day, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Telegram. Those things are invented for people outside our country. So we need to actually have a renaissance for Africa where people are thinking for themselves, and that we will also be able to invent and contribute at the global marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But looking at your journey and where you are at today, what advice would you give to your younger self?
The biggest advice I would give to my younger self is to believe in myself. I think I lacked self-belief. That's why it took so long. I started writing books in my 40s. I think I should have started earlier. But I think the only thing that saved me is that I never stopped to dream. As much as I was not actualizing my dreams, I was building capacity for actualizing those dreams, so that when I started, then I just went beast mode. So, but I still think if I started earlier, maybe I will be much further now. But I don't think anything is wasted. Everything happens at the right time. at the end of the day. They say when the teacher is ready, the student will emerge. So when you are ready, then you actually start to teach yourself and to do things that you should have done.
When the student is ready,
The teacher will emerge.
the teacher will emerge. There's an aspiring writer who is watching you today. What word would you give them?
The word I would give any aspiring writer is to start now. We struggle with waiting for the perfect time. But the best way to perfect yourself is by making mistakes. First of all, I think we think people are very harsh, but I've learned people are very sympathetic. Like the first book I wrote, Strange Encounters, it was a terrible book, and I felt very ashamed when it came out. But people had already paid for it, so I distributed it. I was very ashamed. But the people who bought it still bought my other books, and they stayed with me in my journey. They could see that I was up to something. So many people will be very, very forgiving. But when you've not written, you think that if you write one bad book, that will be the end of it. It's normally not the end of it unless you decide it's the end. So just start now, make mistakes, learn from them, and continue. And we normally say that there's a strategist called Tom Peters who say that if you fail quickly, you succeed sooner. So the sooner you start failing, the better. Don't avoid failure. You'll have to fail. Even if you start at the perfect time, you'll still experience failure.
Yeah. Your book Unplugged is a bestseller. Maybe when you're talking about numbers, what are they? What are you looking at?
Close to 20,000 now. 20,000 copies. So if I reach 100,000, I think that will be close to a miracle. But people would sell millions of copies. I don't know how they do it. Kenya has reading culture has a long way to go, but it is still good and it is still there.
Yeah.
And any writer listening to me out there should not be discouraged. Kenya's reading culture is very, very vibrant. You can still make money from reading, even a living from reading. But you need to be flexible. You need to diversify. You need to be innovative. And I have an author's workshop actually on 14th of September. I want to show authors how they can sell their books. The problem we have as authors, we put ourselves in a box. There is a Frenchman who called it Mauvais foi is bad faith, where someone says, me, I'm just an author. So you tell them, why don't you market your book? They say, hey, I can't market. So authors need to learn how to market, especially on social media. Things have changed. We don't need to be like traditional authors that will give their books to publishers and they sit back. Market your book, forge an identity, forge a brand, and people will buy your book. Many times people don't buy books, they buy the brand. So if you brand yourself well, it's going to help to market your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then now when you're looking at the business side of it, how would you analyze the business side of it?
Business side in terms of...
is it sustainably able to fuel your life? Looking at the kind of life you want to live, the people around you, you have kids going to school and things like that.
It is, but you have to go in. And this is what I'm telling many authors. The best way of selling your book is by writing another book. You're not going to write one book and then expect it to become a bestseller, or think that if you market it very hard, it will become a bestseller. That will never happen. Guys like Stephen King, Kelly Rowlands, and so on, they had to write several books before they wrote a bestseller. So because it's a craft that you refine over time, you're not going to do it once and get it right. Yeah, it's like an art. And like me now, I've diversified. I get paid consultations. I advise guys about business and relationships. I have speaking engagements. I have these conferences. I sell apparels like these ones I'm wearing. I sell the books. And even when it comes to selling, you sell on various platforms. Textbook Center, Nuria, Amazon, and so on. And even in the streets now, we are selling in them also in the street. The street sellers have approached us. So you diversify all this and be about it. Embrace your identity. Don't write a book, then you expect to sit in the shadows. Come out with the book. Tell guys, this is my book. This is what I do. And you can find this book here and there. People, there's an unfortunate belief that some Kenyans also have. They think people who write are people who are broke or who are starving or they are failed in other fields. And so some authors feel shy to advertise their book, they feel, hey, people are hey man, hey, na uko na shida. Hey, yani umeona tu andike kitabu. So you see, some guys are shy about that.
Where did that come from? Is it something is it a culture that we had created?
I
Because
think it's creatives generally are also considered to be people who are struggling. Um, there are no rich authors, or authors are not known to be rich. So it's not something that is considered to be financially rewarding. And I think it's also not easy. Many people who've tried writing have failed. So they know it's very difficult. And so when they see you actually writing, they think, wow, okay, this is the hardest thing. So maybe you fail in everything else. That's why you have to do this. Yeah. So I think that is there. But authors they just need to be dynamic, and they need to be resilient, and they need to be what I would tell guys, if you want to write, it should be something you do because you love doing. Because if you don't love doing it, you probably are not going to be good at it.
yeah,
And if you're not good at it, there's no way you're going to make money from it. Yeah.
Jacob, you're a pro masculinity crusader, and some people call you hardliner. How has that influenced the husband you are, the father you are?
I think it has made me a better husband, a better father, because I'm able to perform my roles better. I'm able to optimize myself and maximize my potential. Because when you maximize your potential, you're able to become a better provider. Your children are able to learn from you how you move, the kind of example that you're setting, and you're able to plan better for your future. You're able to have both foresight and also make decisions that take care of the present circumstances. So for me, it has been very, very useful, and it has made me much more grounded in who I am. I understand myself better. I never used to understand who I was. So I think it's beneficial in that sense. What normally happens is that, of course, sometimes when that happens to you, because some men have also gone through that, when you understand yourself, sometimes you also realize that you're in a bad union, and some people end up divorcing and so on and so forth. But still, me, I'm pro men. Anything that serves the interests of men, I think, is what I place forward, because the society supports women in various levels, from employment to cultural empowerment, women reps, and so on, affirmative action. So, but the boy child is now being left behind, and now we're just trying to close that gap and strengthen men, because men are finding themselves in very difficult situations. Female nature, for the first time, is being expressed in a very unfettered fashion, because women have money. They don't need your protection. The police are there to protect them. And when it comes even to parental investment, nowadays, single motherhood is embraced as the norm. So they don't feel even children need fathers. They can get your sperm from sperm banks, or they even get sex with random men and they get children. It's very common nowadays. Even I see colleagues of mine who have children. They've never been married, and life goes on.
What is the role of a father when you're looking at it?
The role of a father, particularly, there, of course, if the what we call the three P's: parenting, provisioning, and leadership. Okay. So now, for the boy child, the role of a father is to set a good example, particularly in terms of structure and discipline. How you run your business. Do you work hard? Do you wake up early? Are you clean? How do you speak to people? Are you confident, or you are a shy person? How do you deal with conflict? That is very important for a son to watch, to see, because it's not something you learn from theory. And children who don't have fathers, they struggle with that. They wonder what it means to be a father. So, and also for the wife, you need to provide leadership, and you need to provide provisioning for her. At least if you have a wife who is willing to be led. Sometimes you have women who feel they don't need to be led by a man. But what you see is women are very good at judging people's character and energy, but they're not very good with foresight. And men are able to do that. Women live in the present a lot. And that is why the leadership of men will become very, very useful. You'll find that, for example, a woman can get divorced and get a lot of inheritance from the husband, or the husband dies. Then she gets a man who is a swindler, and this guy chews all this money, the businesses are run down, and so on and so forth. So many times, and that's why even when a woman is picking someone to marry, it's very important to involve your father, or at least a father figure. When a man looks at another man, he can easily tell this guy is fake, okay? But a woman cannot do that. Women are not able to do that because they think emotionally. Maybe he's tall, dark, and handsome. He has dimples, okay? Or he's very good in bed. Those are the things that will be guiding her. She'll be looking at the height. She doesn't know that that height has no value when the marriage starts. So when you present this man to a father, to your father figure, and tell them this is the man I want to marry, when this guy engages him, he'll be able to tell you whether this is the right man or whether he is not.
We're also living at a season, Jacob, where there are a lot of absent fathers. And as much as sometimes we would point a finger at the single woman, that single woman had an affair with somebody or a relationship with somebody who ended up pregnant. What do you think has contributed to that absenteeism of the male parent?
There are many. By the way, one thing I have to say, the fact that you live with your wife and your children does not mean those children have a present father.
Yeah.
There are many men who are exiled from playing their roles by their wives. Women have also become very masculine. And many men don't been raised such that they don't like having disagreements or arguments with their wives. So they let their wives run the show. That happens a lot. Also, the women have not been taught to appreciate men. That is a big problem we are having. And many women think they can do everything, including raising boys and raising sons. So you'll find you want to even take your son for a walk. But the mother says, no, that place is too far. You cannot walk all that distance. You see? But you know when you are a child, you walked even 10 times that distance and you are fine. But the modern woman, because she has a voice, she will not let you even raise your son. She'll tell you, no, you will not torture my son like that, and so on. And then women don't realize that masculinity actually grows from adversity. And this is something you find throughout history. If you look at the story of Jesus, Jesus has to die before he becomes Christ. And men normally say no pain, no gain. This is a concept women don't understand. Even if you look at the story of Superwoman, Superwoman is strong, but she doesn't have muscles. There's no way you're going to be strong without muscles. Women don't understand that. Men know that for you to be strong, you have to train. And when you train, your body changes. Your body will not remain the same. A guy who lifts weights and a guy who does not lift weights, they don't have the same body. And you'll be able to tell. Those are things women don't understand. And that's one thing that women do a disservice to masculinity. They don't understand masculinity. Them, they are born with value. They think men can also just become valuable by just being there. And that's not possible. So that's a challenge we are having. We are finding men who are very weak. Women encourage men to become emotional. And a man who is emotional is also very dangerous because he gets angry, he becomes depressed, he can lose hope very fast. He's driven by his own emotions, not logic. And that is where now we had these African rituals that we had for the rites of passage that involve separating the children from their mothers were very, very important because the men were able then to teach these boys not to listen to their emotions, but to do what is important, focus on the mission. So those are some of the things that women don't understand that men may be in a better position to understand. But because of the way we are cultured now, women are told, and they say all the time, what a man can do,
A woman can do better.
yeah, that's the problem.
Do you think modernity or the modernization has changed the concept of manhood? Manhood, the phenomenon, not the organ, guys. Manhood, the space, the spectrum, the presence. Yeah.
It has, of course it has. And that's why I've written Unplugged. There's something called blank slate equalism. The evolution is like this. First, during patriarchy, women were not allowed to vote. They are not allowed to own property. So feminism came up. Women said, we want these rights. They were given those rights. They were even given the right to go to work, to be employed. When they went to the workplace, they realized that men are having all these big positions and them, they are given small positions. So now they wanted equal opportunity. From opportunity of working, now they want to be able to be holding all these big positions. They were said, okay, fine, even women can become CEOs and presidents. Then they realized they cannot compete with men. Men were more aggressive, men are better performance, men don't ask for maternity leave and so on. Men don't start crying when things become difficult. So they realized, even women right now, most women would prefer a man to become the CEO of their companies than a fellow woman. So now they ask for equality of outcome. They said now, if you have an organization, if you have 6 managers, 3 should be men, 3 should be women. So they're even given this position even if they don't marry, just because of gender. So they were given all those things. And then we have affirmative action. Even now in politics, we have women reps because they realize they cannot compete with the men for these positions. So now we have women representatives. Then now, they came up now with the next idea. They said now, by the way, we are not just, we don't just have equal opportunities. We're actually equal. Men and women are equal. We said, okay, fine, we are equal. Under the law, we are all equal. They said, no, 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 no. We are actually, biologically, we are the same. Even this thing you're calling a penis, it is nothing. We are just the same. That's the concept of blank slate equalism. It means they believe gender is a social construct. They say that the way you raise a child is what determines whether it's a boy or a girl, and that's why now in the West they talk about gender at birth, because they no longer recognize that this sexual organ is enough to assign you gender. They can now call it gender at birth, and now gender, you can also decide what gender you are. That's where LGBTQ is coming in. So, and what you find is that in the West, most transgenders, most of them, like 98%, it's normally men saying they're in a woman's body. Or rather, women saying they're in a man's body. It's men trying to transition to become females because it's cool to become female. Women are very protected, just the same way transgenders are protected. Remember Bruce Jenner, when he changed himself to become a woman, they even put him on Vogue as the most beautiful woman on earth, one of those magazines, and yet he's a man. So and then of course now in 2013, American Psychological Association said traditional masculinity is a psychological disorder. So the West is actively trying to kill masculinity. Masculinity is considered toxic. You don't hear about toxic feminism, but it's always toxic masculinity. So, for many reasons, which people speculate about, there has been the people at the top have decided to kill masculinity, and it's a concerted effort. In Brower School in Australia, there was a time boys, 12 years, 10 years, they were told to rise up at the assembly and apologize to the girls standing next to them for being boys. The boys had done nothing wrong, but they were saying that now that men have done so many bad things to women over in the course of history, that these boys need to actually apologize to the girls. So many men are actually feeling ashamed to become men. And this is contributing to all this culture of boys trying to be girls, putting earrings, the hairstyles, the dressings. Look at our celebrities. There'll be very few celebrities who you've not seen with lipstick and dress like a man. Kina Rico Mondi, kina all these creative Nani. All these guys, kina Bahati, all these guys, you can see that is happening. But the rest, the opposite is not the case, where you find all these female celebrities trying to dress up like men.
What hope do you have for the man?
For me, the hope is very strong because as much as we've had cases in the West where people like Andrew Tate have been arrested and jailed and so on, Africa is waking up to the fact that the boy child is being left behind and he needs to be empowered. And we're having now initiatives of actually trying to empower the boy child. So I think there's a lot of hope. and our marriage institution is breaking down. The last time President Uhuru spoke, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Madaraka Day, he said now that out of women now 40% are single mothers. So we're having a crisis in our hands. But the society is recognizing, hopefully, we are going to be able to address it. How we'll address it is not easy. But me, my role is just to tell men who they are and to embrace who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of the consequences.
If there is a book you would recommend to somebody watching us today, what book would you recommend?
Of course, I will recommend Unplugged. Unplugged has surprised me because it has changed people's lives. I have people who've written reviews who say that they were depressed and they were taking antidepressants. And when they read the book, they just stopped taking the drugs because they realized what the problem was. I've had the people whose marriages have been saved by Unplugged. There's a woman who wanted to divorce her husband, and because the husband was just a lazy guy making excuses. Someone told her, simunulie Unplugged, nasikia you Unplugged inasaidia wanaume. She bought that book, gave the guy. Fortunately, he read it and he completely changed. And that woman wrote to tell me that I've saved her marriage. Yeah, so it has done so many things. And many guys who had some were hooked on alcohol and pornography, it has helped them to stop getting their papas. But particularly in terms of finances, many guys have really been helped. And people who are in exploitative relationships have also been assisted by the book.
Yeah.
The thing about Unplugged is that there's actually nothing new I'm saying, by the way. Nothing new in the sense that I say the same things that Rollo Tomasi says and Rich Cooper says. Those are the two main guys. And David Bass. David Bass is the author of Evolutionary Psychology. But what I've done is I've put it in a Kenyan context. I give Kenyan examples and I give them examples they can relate to so that they can see the concepts actually being applied. I think that is why it has a big pull for the Kenyan and East Africa region generally. Many people have actually bought it.
Last week, we gave 2 books of this Unplugged series. Today, I have 3 books I'm giving to 3 people. One, the first book I will gift to somebody who has read this book and would like to gift it to somebody else. So I'm gifting you a copy for the purpose of the next person. So if you've read this book, tell me, what is that thing that stood out for you in that Unplugged book that you read that makes you want to gift it to this person that you want to gift it to? So that gives 1 book. Then for 2, I'd want to gift these 2 remaining books to 2 people who will tell me what stood out for you in last week's episode. What is that one thing that you took out that maybe changed your perception on this whole conversation on masculinity? Then the second book, I want to talk to somebody to tell me something that they picked. We had a whole conversation on philosophy, meta-science, and things like that. What was your take home on philosophy and meta-science and consciousness and time? The wide range of topics that, and I was so happy that we were able to unearth some of those knowledge nuggets from Jacob. But as we conclude, Jacob, for somebody who is looking for you, where can they find you? How can they find you? How can they find your works?
Yes, I'm available on Facebook, Jacob Aliet. I'm also on TikTok, Unplugged VIP. Unplugged VIP. I'm also on Instagram as Jacob Aliet, but I'm most active on Facebook. I've also started a YouTube channel. It's called Unplugged VIP. Maybe I'll go serious next year. It's just something that I'm exploring at the moment because I'm very busy researching. So they can find me in those places. And I've remembered also, we have not talked about this one. That is called Unplugged Diary. It has more than 365 red pill sayings. You can open one page and read the title and we discuss it.
We may not choose the beginning, but write the ending of our own stories.
Yes.
No, that one I don't want. That one is, I want something juicy.
Let's
That one,
check.
that
There are
one is
many juicy
straightforward.
ones.
That one is very straightforward. Ah, this one I like. I find it is going to be one of it's going to be my final quote when I'm closing. But maybe to get context, don't make the graveyard richer. Die empty.
Yeah, this is some of the concept I talk about in Unplugged. It means don't die with your dreams. The reason you are on this planet above ground is to make sure that you actualize your dreams, live out your potential, maximize your potential. The graveyard we normally say is full of, is rich with dreams, or is full of dreams that were never realized. So don't be that person. Actualize all your dreams. When you're dying, you should be able to say that I did everything that I could. Don't have any regrets saying I wish I did this or that. Yeah.
So this diary is available.
Yeah, it's available in Nuri and also on Amazon.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Looks really nice. It's actually a very good diary on a notebook. Jacob, thank you so much for allowing us time to sit with you and to pick wisdom from you.
Yeah. I think it's a very, very important show, for lack of, or channel. Let me call it a channel. Because you give a platform to a number of the thinkers that we have locally. So you are showcasing at least some of the works, shows the brilliant minds that we have. I think it's very important in that sense, and I would encourage you to continue doing the work that you're doing. It's something that will peak over time, and you need to keep it up. As you bring in different guests, I know even this will bring different eyeballs to the show and so on.
Yeah.
As you bring more and more guests, they're going to be bringing their followers. So keep it up and stay the course. I find it very educational, and it's in a way it broadens our understanding of the kind of thinkers and creators and people that we have within the Kenyan society. I like the kind of questions that you ask. They are not just the same questions that are maybe sensational. You go deeper, and you ask questions that challenge someone intellectually, which I think is very good. And I think that's where we need to go as Kenya and also as Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're in the middle of preparation of your conferences and your upcoming things. Maybe you take this time to maybe invite somebody to your workshop. You mentioned you have an author's workshop coming up.
Yes, so I'd like to tell guys who are watching, we have an Unplugged Men's Conference in Naivasha, West Beach Camp, on Saturday, 7th of September. This conference is important for guys, particularly to network. We have had previous meetings where, like the last time we had a guy who was sued by his in-laws, and we had lawyers who are present who took his case pro bono. We have many guys who are in difficult situations, whether it's in terms of the workplace or in the marriage. And when you have a meeting of men like that, they can easily give you solutions that they have advised, that they have implemented in their own lives. Very therapeutic also. Like we had a guy who was complaining that when he came home one time, he found his house empty, and all he found were the curtains, and he even thought you entered the wrong house. So the guys who were there, they told him, you are very lucky, at least you has left the curtains. Me, mine, even the curtains went. I just found the light was streaming into the house. And you share with guys, how did they overcome that to one day become hopeful and live happily. Because sometimes you meet guys who are really down. They've gone through a lot in terms of their marriages, and they're struggling to come up, or their businesses have gone down. We also network just in terms of particularly business people. How do you manage a startup? How do you come back from a failure in terms of career or business? One thing, for example, that guys don't know, like for many guys, when they get divorced and the man has to move out, maybe the kids are young, you want to leave the wife with the kids. Many guys don't know how you can survive on a low budget in Nairobi. and guys can give you a lot of ideas about where you can get a very cheap accommodation in Nairobi, where you can now start off from scratch and build yourself back up. So guys exchange all those kinds of ideas. You network with people, uh, ideas about how to monetize your talents, how to build fitness, nutrition, and so on, and just to have fun. So uh, my page, my Facebook page has the flyer. You can get information there. You can register. We're closing registrations actually tomorrow, Wednesday, and we'll see you there. The guys will come.
Yeah. Jacob, are you training men to be difficult?
No, I don't train men to be difficult. I just train men to become their own mental point of origin. And normally, what comes as difficulty is when someone has been accustomed to having their way with you. Then now you put a break to that. Then of course you're difficult. But for the young guys who are not yet married, when you learn to build your masculine frame, then you meet a woman when your frame is intact. She enters your frame. The people who struggle are the people who already had given away their frame and now they're trying to get it back. That is what will come across as difficult. Because sometimes also some people overdo it. Now you say no to everything. And then now your wife says you're difficult. But you're just trying to get back your frame because you ceded too much ground. Yeah, that is what happens. So some of the things we teach guys how to hold your frame, because when you lose it, getting it back is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But when a woman meets you and you're holding that frame and she enters it, you have the best relationship. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jacob.
Thank you too. I really appreciate your time and your crew.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it has taken, but I think it was worthwhile.
It was worthwhile.
I think we covered a very, very good ground. I think we just didn't talk about what? The consciousness and the
consciousness,
brain.
Yes. I looked at consciousness and the brain and how it works. And
Yeah.
Ian was already threatening me with a gun here and saying, I've done 3 hours. But I'm sure we will have an opportunity to speak about them, because this is what ideally we are building towards, and just creating an ecosystem where it's not Jacob came, talked to us and went, but it's about, can we build a community where time and again we can interact, we can bring people together. And now we have a partnership with the Kenya National Library Service. They have very beautiful auditoriums there.
Okay.
Yes.
I need to take my books there. You know, I did information science. So information science includes library science, publishing, information technology, archives and records management.
Yeah.
So KNLS is close to my heart. Yeah, I'll bring my copies there because of the posterity, as you mentioned.
Thank you.
And then, you know, all my books are in Library of Congress. Library of Congress buys 7 books from every author. They don't want free copies, and they buy at a premium. So even if you give them at above market rate, they buy.
Yeah.
Basically, they have they are mining knowledge that is produced locally. They make sure every book published in Kenya, they have an acquisition budget for that.
Yeah.
But I think we need to value knowledge. There's a reason why Billy Kahora, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chimamanda, those guys are in the US for a reason.
Yeah.
Those guys value knowledge. Anyone that they feel has some knowledge, they take them. They just pluck them from the society. So as Kenyans and Africa, we really need to reach there.
When something is free, you are the product. Thank you so much, because that marks the end of this show today. What have you heard? What has stood out for you on this second part of this conversation? And also remember, last week we gave away 2 books. Today, I'm giving out 3 books. And as I had mentioned, 1 book I'm gifting somebody who is supposed to gift somebody. And this is particular somebody who's read this book, loved it, and would have loved to buy it to somebody else. So I'm giving you this book to gift it to somebody else. But also, on the second one. But remember, Jacob has shared with us his social handle, so you can find him. Feel free to reach out. And also, you can also reach out to us if you'd want to reach out to him, or you'd like to meet, or you'd like to talk to him. We'll be able to share your information with him. But thank you so much for also joining with us for the second week in a row, talking to Jacob. And we've experienced his scientific mind, IT, and all these worlds, religion. Watch out for his Unplugged 4 that he's going to write about religion. But what is it that has stood out for you? Tell us on the comment section for a chance for you to win a book, for a chance for you to win a giveaway. I've been your host, Mulure Mike. And remember, this is brought to you in partnership with the Nuria Bookstore, who are the leading online bookstore in Kenya. 4 years in a row now. They also have a physical shop at the Baza Plaza, first floor in the Nairobi CBD. This also is brought to you in partnership with the Kenya National Library Service. If you are an author, deposit 2 of your copies for posterity at the Kenya National Library Service. But also for you and me who are just readers, yet to write, feel free to use the National Library Service as your ideal reading place. They have a very good facility, very ample parking, by the way, for those who want to drive to that place. They have a very good reading environment that can allow you to experience. And even those of you who want to experience their digital space, there is a digital space at the Kenya National Library Service. So check them out, check them on their website, and experience what you can be able to do with them. But thank you so much. I've been your host, Mulire Mike. And until the next one, have a good one.